We have gone live.
Okay, sweet.
I think we are. Yeah, we should be. Um, still. Oh crap! I just. Oops. Let's move that out of there. Okay.
Seriously, my
What's up?
I can't see my cursor on my screen. This is super annoying. Like, what's going on right now?
Oh, I don't know.
Google doesn't know anything either, and Google knows everything. So this is weird.
Google does know everything. It's
Maybe I'll
always
unplug it and plug
watching.
it back in. The one thing Google can't tell me to unplug it and plug it back in. Google
It
never
does tell
suggests
you to
that.
restart your device, though.
No, still even that didn't work. Wow.
Maybe your mouse is dead.
It's not a wireless. It's wired. Like
Uh,
no, like I see the icon. I like when I hover over something. If I find the thing, I
mhm.
can like see it. Like
Okay.
I can see the thing light up, but I can't see the actual thing, so I don't know where I'm going.
Ah, okay. Well, should we just get started?
Yeah, go right ahead while I try to figure this thing out. But what's the concept of the video first? I guess it's a live stream. What's the concept of the live stream first?
Well, first, it's going to be about our top 10 favorite movies. As
Uh,
we made an episode on this way earlier, but both of our lists have changed drastically since.
Man, mine hasn't that.
You know what? Yours not as much?
No, not
Okay.
really.
Mine has a lot. At least I'm going to be ranking things a little bit differently as I'm going more of my own personal favorite movies as opposed to what I think are the best movies. And yeah, as opposed to yeah, I don't know how you're ranking them exactly, but so I guess should we just dive right into it then? I don't know. I don't have much to talk about. Sadly, we can't play Putt Party, but that's really it.
That's all we wanted to do.
That
Play
is
Putt Party.
all that we wanted to. Yeah.
Instead, we got to rate our favorite movies.
Uh,
Yeah.
I still have such a long list of movies I still need to see. So it's like this is um everything's up for change. But I wish I could put The Simpsons on here, but I consider that a TV show.
You
Not
consider it a TV show?
Yeah, it's a TV show.
Yeah, I know. I know it is. You said you consider.
Yeah, and I didn't want to put TV shows on here, so
Okay,
that's that.
fair enough.
We'll start with you first with your number 10.
What's my number 10? Okay, well, my number 10 is an absolute classic. I think you agree. It's Hot Fuzz.
Yes.
And apparently you have it higher.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, Hot Fuzz is just like a phenomenal movie. What's the trilogy called? What do they call it? Like Blood and Ice Cream or something like that?
No, that's called the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy.
The Cornetto trilogy. So it's these two guys. It's the same director. Um,
With
what's the guy?
Cornetto as product placement.
Yeah, and and apparently it wasn't even product placement. It was just like the director. That ice cream was his hangover cure.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
I
So
thought it was
yeah.
product placement.
No, it was just straight up. Yeah, like he just featured it in every movie. But it's barely featured. Like you wouldn't even notice.
Yeah. I
But
love
yes,
the subtlety of it.
so it starts with Shaun of the Dead, which is also like a classic, which is beautifully directed. But Hot Fuzz is really the peak of this trilogy. I mean, Simon Pegg is it's Simon Pegg, right? Yeah, Simon Pegg. It says it right there.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg he's an amazing actor. He carries the trilogy. Um, it has so many great setups and payoffs in it too.
Mhm.
Like it's amazing. And it's beautifully directed. Like there's some scenes where even though it's a comedy movie, you feel real suspense.
I love one of my favorite setups and payoffs of that movie was that Kate Blanchett plays the girlfriend.
Yeah,
And so they paid for Kate Blanchett and then they put her in a forensics outfit for 2 minutes.
That's hilarious.
It's like I don't know how much you're gonna have to pay. Oh, that's I had to pay,
And you
but
never see her
that
again,
had
right?
to be
You
a lot.
never see her again,
Yeah,
right?
and they just
That's
put one of the most beautiful actresses in Hollywood in a full-on forensics outfit. And the big moment of her scene is when she rips her glasses off. And because they loved the Lord of the Rings movies, so like when Simon Pegg has his hand bitten in the opening, like shots if you know what I mean, when the guy bites his hand, that was Peter Jackson. So it was just a lot of cool cameos and stuff. I love it. I'm gonna talk more about it later though.
yeah.
As for my number 10, is going to be The Prestige, which is a
Really,
film
the prestige.
for people who do not know. It's a film about two magicians in the 19th century who were competing against each other with the turn of when electricity was being popularized.
Technically, three
And
magicians. Oh,
well, yeah, but
but okay.
their rivalry continues on to put on a better and better performance over the other, and the path that both leads them down. I think it's a very
Hmm.
compelling story, very well acted out. It has a lot of big name actors who all did really good in their roles, and it's just I would really recommend it as a movie. You
Hey,
haven't
and
seen
you've
it
got you
already.
speaking of this is just off. You really haven't seen the Last of Us show yet, like, because that's like a show that I
I
neither
haven't.
recommend or nor not. It's but it's such a big show and everyone loves it. But you know what the thing is? The thing is that all the shows that come out nowadays are just so bad that like a um moderately good show with like one really good actor just seems amazing in comparison.
So I agree with most of that sentiment, but I have heard, and from what I have seen so far, that Last of Us show looks really good.
Well, Pedro. Well, the issue is that they didn't stick the landing with the Joel Ellie connection. Is what the real issue is.
Uh,
But Pedro Pascal, like, I mean, he brings them off the movie from something that I would have been like moderately disappointed with to something that I kind of enjoyed. Just his performance as Joel is really true to the game, and it's just
mhm.
amazing.
What do you mean? I want to say it's true to the game. They adapted his character the most from what I've seen.
Oh, are you kidding me? No, that's exactly what Joel is.
Joel opens up to Ellie like really quickly in the games. It's right after Tess dies.
No, no, it's after the
Spoiler. Or
it's after Bill's place.
is it
It's
after
after the
Bill's?
Bill mission. Yeah, it's not until after the Bill mission where Joel starts to open up
But in the movies, it takes, or at least the show from
in the
what I've
show.
seen, in the show from what I have seen, it takes like a lot longer than that, which I think was a good change.
No, it really doesn't because the issue is in the game he's not like a father figure to Ellie until the end, but he does start to like their relationship builds. In the show, it's more like a switch. That it's more like rather than like an inclined plane, it's like a staircase. You know what I mean?
That's where, again, it's
Where
like a.
like there's like three stages. There's he
I
hates her
haven't seen it
to
because
he
I
kind of
haven't
to she
seen it,
likes him to they like each other.
but I've
And you
heard
can't
the
you
exact opposite. I've heard the
and
exact opposite take
listen,
on that
whoever's
show.
telling you this is not. Listen, as soon as if you watched it, you would be like, "Oh, Calvin was so right."
We
Like
we will have to see
all right,
whenever
whatever, Jay.
whenever I get around to watching it.
Hmm. Right.
Oh, let's get to your next one.
My next one. I don't even know if you've seen this. My next movie, The
Oh,
Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
you've told me about it.
It's technically an anthology.
Mhm.
It's by the guys that made No Country for Old Men. Do you know that one?
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
That's a pretty good piece of cinema. But
Okay.
so this is six stories. There's a lot of big name actors in it. It has Sam Elliott. It has uh what's the guy's name? I'm blanking. He's in a lot of movies with I can't remember any actor's name right now. Jeez. Who do you play? Remember that movie, The Interview with Kim Jong Un? He was one of the guys in that. And God, I can't believe I really should have. I should have taken notes here. This is gonna bug me forever. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's got a bunch of famous actors. It's got Liam Neeson in it at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's six killer ones. It starts with a little musical number and it's really six movies that are all about dramatic irony. Or
Oh.
or is it? It's one of the types of ironies. All of them have an ironic ending except for maybe one. So it's all about like, oh, the characters. Something happens that's contrary to what you think would happen. That's what it is. So it's all like up and then a sudden drop, almost in like attitude.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it's so hard to describe, but there's one of the shorts that I don't really like, but the other five they're like the most amazing westerns of all time. And they didn't even when they wrote them, they didn't even write them as westerns or as they didn't write this as an anthology. They happened to write six short stories that were westerns and they threw them together.
Yeah.
It works so well.
I am not too familiar with it. I will have to check it out at some.
You gotta watch it. It's on Netflix.
Oh, then that's gonna be easy to see.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. You know the meme that's like first time, and the guy's like with a noose around his neck. That comes
Oh,
from this.
yeah.
You know who that actor is?
No, I do not.
Oh God.
But I do think I know what. I've seen a little bit about that, where he's like the fastest gunslinger in the West.
Yeah, that's Buster Scruggs.
Okay.
And he doesn't like being a gunslinger. He wants to ride a horse and sing, but he kills people sometimes. And usually they're the aggressor, so he's like not really a bad guy.
Yeah. I have seen one scene in that movie, or in this ballad, but I still have to see all of it.
But the guy that plays him, even though he's not the most famous actor, he is like an awesome like character actor. He's been in a few things,
Okay.
and he knocks it out of the park every time.
Okay.
Neil something.
Neil Gibman.
Oh, you knew him? Yeah.
I just pulled a name out of my.
Oh, okay. I think it's Neil. All right,
Okay.
your number 9.
My number 9 is the movie An Elephant Standing Still.
Of course.
Of course it is. I
Still haven't seen it.
This movie, it's not an easy watch, but it is still incredibly underrated for what it is. So it is a story about 4 people kind of just living ordinary lives in modern day China, and they each are dealing with a conflict or a situation in their life that they want to escape from, they want to get out of. And we watch as these 4 people are trying to escape their lives, and their stories all come together and end with, the movie. It is, it shows kind of like this whole theme and like the story of trying to get out of the ordinary, of trying to strive for more and better things through its combination of how it uses sound and music, through the various pacing in the movie, from how it uses its characters and how they interact with each other, and the camera angles and the color grading. It uses so many different tools that have come together, and they all just tell this, what I think is like a beautiful story. And again, it is not an easy watch. It is a very long and relatively slow movie, but it was.
Is it is it in dub or is it sub?
It's subtitles.
Ah.
It is produced in Chinese, and then
Yeah, but I was hoping they dubbed it.
Nah,
I hate reading subtitles. I hate reading while
it
trying to watch
doesn't.
a movie.
It never had a huge funding, so but it was produced by, and then there's a good story behind this movie too. It's a sad story, but it's also a good one. It was produced by a promising young Chinese author and director named Wu Bu, and this was his debut film onto the movie scene. and like there was huge anticipation for it. But unfortunately, when he was trying to get the movie published, he received a lot of backlash from the Chinese government for how it depicted modern day life in China, for and the cinemas would and publishers wouldn't sponsor his movie or publish it because of its runtime, or they didn't think that it was a movie that a general audience would like, and so they refused to publish it. And he was started receiving all these negativity from publishers, from people in the community, backlash from the Chinese government as people were after him and actively investigating him for it, and it led to the director committing suicide just a couple months later. And
Oh,
one of the
seriously?
yeah, and his best friend, who is one of the main characters in his film, um, took the film and published it by himself as an independent project so it could get out there in the memory of the director. It is
That's
yeah, it's a crazy story behind it, and and it's a really good movie that is really worth the watch if you're into that kind of stuff.
that's. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just know that you thought it was a great movie.
Oh yeah, there's a really deep story behind it too.
And the elephant is literally just like an elephant with a broken leg.
No,
Oh,
in it, um, it's the idea of an elephant standing still is referenced throughout as a goal to reach.
okay. So it's not like a literal thing.
It is, but it isn't.
There's no elephant in the movie.
Well, I can't go
What
into
do
much
you mean?
detail.
Well,
I can't go into much detail without spoilers, but
oh, okay.
the um they hear there is like a elephant in the city that just stands there. It doesn't respond to command or punishment, no matter how much you tempt it with food or beat it. It refuses to move, and it just stands there, doing its
So
own
it's a
thing.
movie about depression.
And these four people are trying to go see that elephant. They all hear
So
about it, and they want to get out of their lives, and they want to go see this elephant.
okay, sweet. I'll watch it. I think I'll. It says it's streaming on. Uh, I might go watch it
Amazon.
after we film this podcast. Amazon Prime.
I will watch it with you. You can also watch it for free on YouTube, as there's a free upload of it that hasn't been taken down or anything.
Well, I wouldn't support that because that's pirating. But yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
You move on to your number 8. We'll do it like that, like 2 and
Okay.
2.
So my number 8 is Kingsman 1 and 2.
Oh, come on. Which one's the better one though?
That I couldn't. I'm going to have to say the second one.
The Golden Circle.
Yes, the Golden Circle.
All
So
right.
it is number 1 is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but Elton John steals every scene he is in.
Elton John's just a great. Uh, I would have loved to see that tour with Elton John and Billy Joel. I mean,
My
that
favorite
wasn't that long ago either.
my favorite scene is like when Elton John he like just gets up and like looks out of his cage at Poppy, and he's like, "You fucking bitch," and he just sits back down.
He is really. It's always great when you have someone that's like kind of too famous to be even in this movie.
Yeah,
Like that's Elton John.
it is.
He's a star.
For anyone who doesn't know, it's a hilarious and just all around fun comedy action spy movie with it has great action scenes. The choreography is really well done. There's a lot of fast-paced camera movements. Like there's that one fight scene where it's like a 7-minute long fight scene that's a single shot. If you remember
Is
in the church,
yeah, the first one or
of
the
when
second
they
one?
the second one when they play Freebird. The song
Yes.
Freebird comes on, and it's like a 7 minute long single shot fight scene. It was so well done. Everything about those movies is well done. It is fun. It is great. Um,
Who plays Tequila in that movie? Is that Channing Tatum?
Tequila.
If I Yeah, and then Pedro
Samuel.
Pascal plays Whiskey.
Yeah, he plays. Pedro Pascal plays Whiskey. Um, Samuel L. Jackson plays, what's that character's name again? The
The
villain in the
bad the
first one.
bad the bad guy in the first movie.
Yeah. He's just a super villain, or he's just not really super, but he's a villain who hates violence but uses violence to get his ways. Oh, it's a fun watch, and honestly, anyone who hasn't seen these movies should watch them.
Oh yeah,
They're
for
great.
real.
Now let's
And
go.
there's also the Golden Circle, which
Yes.
I'm guessing you didn't like as much because you said Kingsman 1 and 2. Oh, I mean
No, no.
the King's Man.
Yeah,
Is
I
that what it's
haven't
called?
seen the third one. Yeah, it's called Kingsman. Because they're referred to as the Kingsmen. And the first one is called Kingsman Secret Service, and the second one is the Golden Circle.
Okay, right.
Yep. Okay, so let's go on to your number 8.
My
Mulan.
number 8 is Mulan. I mean, first of all, it's fair to say that Disney is the most powerful cultural force,
Yes.
or at least has been previously.
Yep.
And a lot of the Disney princess movies, even like they are kind of girly, but they are incredibly. They're based
Mulan is
on
one of the better ones. Yes.
they're based on old stories, old wives' tale,
Hmm.
and they're all pretty good. But Mulan is a masterpiece.
I will say Mulan is good, but I was not
Mulan is
expecting top 10.
really no. Mulan's amazing, dude. I love Mulan. It has the first of all in the first half of the movie, it has a bunch of really great songs, like
It
"Make a
does.
Man Out of You," but and then one of the scenes, it abruptly changes from like a fun regular Disney movie about this
Hmm.
girl who's pretending to be a boy to fight in her father's place
That
to this is a legit war movie,
isn't that the
which
scene when she first experiences combat?
yeah, which is what like a lot of like uh which a lot of war movies sort of do, or actually maybe Full Metal Jacket did this, but there is a lot of things where like the young boys they're singing and marching down the streets.
Yeah.
Oh,
Saving
was
Private
that all quiet?
Ryan.
Well,
Saving Private.
no, Saving Private Ryan starts horribly,
Okay.
and,
But it does
but
just good stuff though.
I think All Quiet on the Western Front might do this, where like they start off and
Mm.
everyone's like glory of war, and then eventually it's like holy crap, this sucks.
What
And
is
Mulan
the
for a kids movies and it's like a movie for little girls. It's like shows the horrors of war beautifully. And
Hacksaw
Mulan and
Ridge? Sorry, Hacksaw Ridge was the movie I was thinking of. That does that too.
I've never seen it. I've always wanted to see it though.
Yeah,
I've heard that's an amazing movie.
it
And
is good.
it's a true story.
Yeah, it is.
Um yeah, Mulan and also it's another thing where like a lot of the movies where like it's like a female hero fighting against men.
Hmm.
The live action Mulan sucked because she was literally like a superpowered like badass. And she was
Agreed.
like beating up dudes, but Mulan wasn't like well, she was like weaker than everyone else, but she was like the most creative.
Hmm.
And even though she wasn't like as fast as everyone else she was marching with or whatever, she was she throughout the movie she shows that it's her creativity and as an individual, not just like it's not like because she's a woman, it's because Mulan is an amazing individual.
Yeah,
She has abilities that the army could have utilized,
she uses her best attributes.
which is her mind. She's very smart.
Yeah,
So I think that's great.
her loyalty
Uh,
shows through consistently throughout the movie. Her bravery, like,
and also the little dragon guy is just hilarious.
yeah. Back in the days when Disney would add just a touch of comedy.
Yeah, just a little bit of comedy. There was a comic relief character. I guess there was a couple actually, because her fellow army men were like kind of like
Yeah.
the three Stooges, but yeah, there was like the two serious characters, and then the bad guys, and then the comic relief dragon. missed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
uh,
And your number 7?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest. Okay.
Maybe two weird ones in a row. Like you,
Forrest
I don't
Gump's
know.
a good movie.
Forrest
I
Gump's an amazing movie. I chose Forrest Gump just because it's infinitely rewatchable.
hmm.
Like I love like a lot of the other movies. Like everything below this. I think is it would be hard to watch twice in a row because they're so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe except my number one slot. But Forrest Gump, you could watch it and watch it and watch it. It's so funny, and there's so many good payoffs too. And it has like some of the best pacing of any movie I've ever seen. There's no scene I think that feels like it went too fast or that went too slow. It tells the story. It does it uh, in the best way it could. Like there were tons of great shots in the movie, but it's not amazing because it was directed well. It just feels like you're watching it, you're never bored,
Yeah.
and you're never like whiplash, you know.
Yeah.
Like we talk like I don't think we talk about pacing enough in movies because like the movie The Batman that came out. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like pretty good acting in that movie, I'd
We
say. A
watched
lot of
that
good,
movie together.
yeah, a lot of great shots. Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
did a lot of great shots.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? The Batman, horrible pacing, and like I think that like the directing was beautiful, but the pacing, or I guess you call that what do you call it? Like the photography,
Cinematography.
cinematography. The cinematography in the Batman amazing, but the
It was.
pacing was never good enough.
I think The
There were some
Batman is a very underrated superhero movie, even still to this day.
I didn't like it because of the pacing.
Hmm.
I think that's the main reason. Oh, I also didn't like how they did the Riddler.
Okay, fair.
There are a lot of well, yeah, because like he was like a weird ideologue. He wasn't really the Riddler.
Yeah, they wanted to add something political about that to the Riddler.
Yeah, though good enough for them because it is internal world politics at least for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know what you call it, Watsonian politics.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Anyway, Forrest Gump is like should be the master class on how to pace a movie well,
Okay.
and and that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Haven't seen all of Forrest Gump. I've seen most of it, but unfortunately, I didn't finish it. But that was years ago. Like I need to That's a movie I need to rewatch.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah. So if we go to my my number 7 is going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once.
There
This
you go, boy.
this has gained spots since my last list, and I think it's the only movie that actually moved up since we last did our lists.
Actually, I didn't even think about that. I think I might replace Hot Fuzz with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I rewatched this movie, and
Yeah.
holy shit, was it worth it! This movie it's recently become the most awarded film of all time, and I think
Yep.
damn good reason. Um, it is a great movie, and how it combines its serious story and themes with a great mix of comedy is a masterclass in its own right, I think, and how they go about it. It's a
Okay, and can I
sorry.
want to say something on this. I
Mhm.
want to say so I'm going to call out Ben Shapiro.
Oh,
What an
no.
idiot. What a dumb
Yes.
idiot. What a
Yes.
stupid. His quote was this movie needed to be edited with a chainsaw. Oh
Yes.
my god. No. This movie is okay,
That to be
like
fair,
Forrest Gump is the best paced movie. No, Everything Everywhere All at Once is beautifully edited.
it is.
It is like
Everything about it.
I wouldn't think of an editing moment until I saw that movie, and I was like, holy crap, this is edited insanely well.
Yes.
Oh my god. So, and by the way, it also wasn't a woke movie, Ben Shapiro. Get out of here.
I
Was
want to
it?
give Ben Shapiro credit in that his take makes sense when you find out that he was a failed movie critic and director.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he was.
Clearly. Oh my god.
This movie, well, it is. It's just great.
It
It
really
is.
it really makes you feel bad if you're a failed movie critic.
It is essentially a story about a mother who has a troublesome relationship with her family, and how these otherworldly events come and happen and bring them all together and make them realize how much they're lucky and appreciate each other.
Okay, and also Ben, okay? First of all, it wasn't a movie about how she needed to accept her gay daughter. It was about how they needed to accept each other.
Yeah,
All
it
right?
was about fixing their relationship as a mother and a daughter. If it's like, this is literally one of those movies where it's like, if you think it is woke, then you
You have issues. You
misunderstood. You misunderstood everything about it.
Okay,
They,
and another thing. I this is like me watching this Ben Shapiro reviews Everything Everywhere All at Once is like the epitome of hate watching because I love that movie more than. Oh my god, dude! He said that that there was a bunch of random crap in the movie. Random stuff happened, but all like the parallel, almost all the like, how many of the parallel universes had
every
payoffs that you didn't expect?
yes,
The one
every
where she's a
shot,
movie star. Yeah.
every
Oh my god.
line had purpose.
Yeah.
Everything built up either the characters or the story or the themes. There was
And
not a
also,
single
also
wasted
Ben,
moment.
also Ben, the lesbian was the bad guy. In case you didn't notice, do that in a woke movie.
Yeah. It,
Ugh.
it is a beautiful movie.
I'm furious. Oh my god.
It's more of a discredit on nihilism than anything else.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. It's saying that, although I think
It literally
it,
is,
it
because the daughter sees everything everywhere all at once, and that's where the title comes from. She literally says, "Do you know what it's like to experience everything everywhere all at once?" in the film, trying to get her mother to understand her scenario. And she's like, "No, I can't, but I can
yeah.
try."
Anyway.
And it's like that was like one
Anyway.
of the big turning points in the movie, and it's an amazing movie. Everyone
Oh,
needs
and
to go watch it.
it is really a great movie. And congratulations to Short Round.
Hmm.
What's the guy's name?
Oh, I don't know. I just
Okay,
remember this as the movie that beat Disney. When it released, Disney publicly blamed this movie for their poor box office.
really.
Yes, on
Okay.
on one of them.
Okay, I need to find. I really need to find this guy's name because
Yeah.
uh okay, I need to go to Google for this. God damn it. I, I hate Google. Okay.
Okay.
Ki Hu Kwan. That's his name. Ki Hu Kwan.
Yeah.
Or was that the? Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, and he's short. He was Short Round in Indiana. I didn't even know that. Did you know that?
No.
He was the little Asian boy in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh.
He was really like the highlight of this movie. He's an amazing actor. I think I said it when we watched it together. I think I said
To
the
be honest,
husband is a phenomenal actor.
he was. Although I think the IRS agent is the star in my book.
Jamie Lee Curtis? No, I don't. She was fun. She was written funny though.
She was.
I don't think she was like a brilliant actor. But
yeah.
Ki Hu Kwan. I think that's how you say it. Ki Hu Kwan. And I don't think anybody, if it wasn't him.
When he got his own scene at the end where he like just begs everyone to stop and that he doesn't understand what's going on, like he steals that entire scene with his performance by himself right there.
Yeah.
Ugh, it was so good. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
going on to my number 6 is the film 1917.
Ooh, I like that one.
This is a very good movie. It is a 1917. It is a very serious film about two different friends serving in World War One, and one of them has the movie is set up in like the first 2 minutes. The task is simple: um, your brother is leading an attack that is an ambush, and if we don't stop them, then it will be a massacre. And your mission is simple: get there and stop the attack. And they leave it at that. And it is the struggle that this guy goes through with his friend to try to go and stop this attack as they go through a war-torn France to stop this. And I don't want to spoil too much about it, but how it is shown as almost like a single shot movie all the way through is amazing, because they have some really unique cinematography when they're going through it. And there's a lot of really cool techniques that they used for taking shots, as well as stuff like the lighting, the sound, the music, and like all the camera angles. It all comes together, and it really pushes the gravity of the situation of like what is going on. And it leads to an amazing payoff at the end of the movie that is so simple, but yet it is so heavy and works. And I showed this movie to Gabe, and he was like, "This is my third favorite movie of all time." And I was like, "Yeah, it's amazing." But yeah,
I like it, but you know what? I don't think I think the whole selling point. I remember when this movie was marketed,
mhm.
is that it's one shot, one continuous shot. I mean, it's edited together, but it's
Yeah,
one continuous shot, and that's a really cool selling point.
but
But
it
I
was so
don't.
much more than that.
Yeah, well, it's a great movie, but I don't think it's like hmm.
The its best
I'm I
cinematography
was I
points
was confused
aren't.
I was confused by like the layout of this battlefield
Mhm.
as they were going through it. Like I was trying to keep track in my head, and like you're like clearly there's an edit here that they don't show because now
They
he's at.
mentioned that the lines have shifted, and that that side of the front line that his brother was serving on had pushed up, and that is why they go through no man's land to get to them.
No, that's not why. Like way after that, like in
Oh, okay.
between the barn scene and like the little town scene, I was super confused because I was like, well, shouldn't you be able to see the town in the distance in this thing because it's an open field basically, and they weren't
You do.
driving for very long.
You do.
Do you?
That scene was actually just one whole take. They used an actual location for that.
Really? In
Yeah.
between the barn scene and the town scene when he's driving on the Humvee?
Oh, when they're driving on the Humvee, no, they that had a cut in it. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a cut there because it's like, well, I feel like they didn't drive as
By
far
the
as they
barn, I
actually
thought
did.
you meant by the barn in the town,
No,
in
no,
the
no, no.
small town. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's why I didn't like it very much because I was so distracted. I was like, what's these? And then they were in the woods in a little bit later. I was like, where there weren't woods there before.
There were.
Like think
Because
about how far you could walk in 2 hours. It's pretty far, but it's not that
they
far.
definitely skip time. There is time skip that happens in the movie because they needed to get from point A to point B, and
Right?
I get
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's the
So
point I was making, and I was like, okay, well, that's great, but like, why the one continuous shot then?
yeah,
It's just a gimmick, and it's a gimmick that there's another movie. Is it Birdman the movie?
I do
That's
not
one
know.
continuous shot. There's a couple movies that are like that, and I feel like they sacrifice some. Sometimes if you want to do like something like that, like oh, it's one continuous shot, you have to make sacrifices.
Mhm.
And I think the internal consistency of the movie, like the time of the movie, is a sacrifice.
Often what you do, so cutting in when it comes to like making movies is used to help break things apart, or almost unintentionally make the viewer feel like time is passing, or like things are speeding up. It makes a movie seem faster than it necessarily is. And they really wanted to not have that effect with this movie. And that was a big reason why they had one continuous shot, because it was a good selling point. But I think from this was also a good movie to do that in.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. It is cool. There's a lot of great parts about it.
Like a lot of people did get hung up on the part, oh, it's just a film with one continuous shot. And I was like, well, had a lot of great cinematography moments, and they used that one continuous shot really well to play with the pacing of the movie. Yes, there were moments where we were like, is night really that long, or that short? I should say. Well, no, but you know what? It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's still a great movie. I think that
Yeah.
would.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying it's just like maybe I need to rewatch it because it's been a while.
Mhm. Let's go
I think
on to
that's
your
probably what it is.
number 6.
My number six.
Yep.
All right. So my number six is Inglorious Bastards, the Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I'm a big Tarantino fan. I guess I'm not that big because there's some really big Tarantino fans.
Yeah.
But I think Tarantino has a really unique style of movie, and I think Inglorious Bastards is my favorite of those movies.
Okay.
It opens up with the scene where Christoph Waltz's character, he plays an SS officer,
Mm-hmm.
and he's interrogating a French man who's hiding a Jewish family in his basement, and he knows,
Mm-hmm.
and the audience knows he knows, and like it's one of those things where, and the French guy knows he knows, and everyone knows, and the suspense just builds, and he talks in English, in German, and French,
Mm-hmm.
like he's switching languages.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I knew Christoph Waltz knew German and English, but I didn't know French, or maybe he doesn't, and he just memorized it phonetically.
Yeah.
But that's a really amazing scene. And then there's
That is a very
Brad
fitting
Pitt's
scene.
Brad Pitt's like absurdist character.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he's got a really weird voice, and it kind of clashes with the rest of the tone of the movie, but in a good way.
Hmm.
Like everyone else is just like a brutal killer, and Brad Pitt's just there like meatball subs or whatever. Like he's just like a weird guy. And there's a couple other scenes. There's the Mexican standoff scene. Um, there's the final like when they betray Christoph Waltz's character scene that are just like Tarantino's
Mm-hmm.
really putting in the work.
Okay. I haven't
And
seen this movie yet.
oh, you haven't seen Inglourious Basterds?
I have not.
I have a feeling like even if you saw it, you'd be like, "There's no way." I don't think you'd agree with me. I
I've
think it's a
heard
movie that you.
I've heard great things.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a Tarantino movie. It's absurdly bloody. It's super serious, but also super ridiculous, and at the same time, you have a serious character talking to an absurdist character.
Novus, you've joined us.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm here to review the opinions. Okay.
I don't know. Do you like Inglourious Basterds?
I love Inglorious Bastards. I think it is so well put together. I think it takes a genius for those three nearly unrelated storylines to all like converge in some way. I will say the part around the middle where they're introducing the storyline of Shoshana later on. I'll avoid any spoilers, right?
Yes, avoid spoilers.
Starts off slow. I'll say that starts off a bit slow.
Okay.
I agree. I don't like the theater scenes as much.
Yeah, but I think that picks up to have its own merit later on. So
Yeah, and you know what? All Tarantino movies are about filmmaking. Like
Mhm.
that's a rule. Like there's no like the theme of the movie is that there's something in this movie about movies. And in Glorious Bastards, there's the theater and there's the guy who's an actor.
Mhm.
And he's like a spy and an actor. And
Yeah.
like you see, it's more obvious in something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but even Pulp Fiction is about filmmaking.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Was it?
in every because that's what Tarantino. If you're
Pulp Fiction is a
cinephile,
weird movie.
well, every
I don't remember a film
It has
reference
a
in Pulp
lot.
Fiction.
It has a lot of things. It's a lot more than just that.
it's every Tarantino movie is about the art of filmmaking, even if it's not like about that.
Or at
Like
least it's like referenced.
no, it's not like reference. I mean like even something like Django Unchained.
Yep.
It's way before like films were out, right?
Yeah.
But Tarantino is a filmmaker and he's always commentating on something in the film industry.
Okay.
So like Cal Candy isn't just a slave owner. He represents more than that.
Okay. I see what you mean then. He breaks like the usual standards of
Yeah,
filmmaking.
basically.
Okay.
He's
yeah.
like, yeah, and now Walter Goggins gonna hit him in the nuts with a rope on, like a weight on a rope or something like that.
Wait,
And he
what?
like, and yeah, that happened. That didn't happen. That happened in Django Unchained. But
Oh, I was thinking of David Goggins. I got really confused.
maybe it's
I was like,
no,
the
no, not
marathon guy is hitting
not
Quentin
no, no,
Tarantino in the nuts?
no, Walter Goggins, yeah, actor. All right, can I move on to my number 5?
Yes, you can.
All right. I think you're gonna be mad at where I put this, but number 5, I put Return of the King.
Fair.
It breaches top 5. It's an amazing movie. I hear that it's the one Lord of the Rings movie that's a little different than the books.
It is.
But I hear that it was a good choice because that's how you adapt a film. You need to make something different sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
They
and
had to make a lot of changes.
and it's all the payoffs come in this movie, every single payoff. And as much as Fellowship is a great movie to introduce the world and start their adventure, everything happens in this movie that like all the hobbits get back together at the end. It's so nice. All right. There's a lot of wonderful things, and you know what, a lot of that is Tolkien. All right?
Mhm.
Like, if you're gonna say this is an incredibly well written movie, it's because it was a real well written book by Tolkien, right?
It was a very well written book that was very well adapted. The adaptation is almost as brilliant
Peter
as
Jackson.
the book was.
And you know what? If the books had a bad payoff, I think the movies would still be great to watch.
The books were not perfect. As somebody who's read them, the books are not perfect.
Oh yeah, you're gonna complain about Tom Bombadil. I get it. I get your type.
But
why are there so many songs in these books? Oh.
No, I liked that. I liked the touch of detail. But in Return of the King, my problem with Return of the King was the whole Ghost Army.
I love the Ghost Army. What, are you kidding me?
It felt like a Deus Ex Machina. Like they just came, saw, conquered.
Well, you know what? I don't understand why all these humans are fighting alongside the orcs. Like that feels weird.
Well, because okay, actually, we won't get into Tolkien
well, I know you've tried to explain this to me, but like why? Like if you're a human, okay, like the Hobbit is like the War of the Five Armies is like pretty straight. Like the humanoids are fighting against the monsters.
Yeah,
that's how it ends. But in this, they're like, well, some of them sided with
keep it simple
with Mordor, and it's like that didn't happen.
To keep it simple, Sauron promised various factions and countries different things, and he used his power to control them.
Yeah, but we saw how that ended the last time.
Well, to these people, there was no last time. To be fair.
All right, whatever. It like come on, like it should have just been like orcs and goblins, and goblin orcs, aka hobgoblins.
And orc goblins.
Yeah, but okay, if you're gonna bring in like Joe Schmo from like Albania or something to fight alongside the orcs, of course we're gonna get a ghost army. Like, of course it's gonna happen.
Yeah, this is Grendel Bonecracker. This is Weasel Human Chewer, and this is Jim the accountant from Florida.
Well, yeah, right. There's a bunch of orcs, and then there's just like, and we made deals with these other countries to send us guides. And why would they possibly do that? Like, I'm the necromancer. My entire country is black.
I think that
everything in my country is black.
You also get it's like with Sauron's ability to control or to dominate over the minds of others, and the fact that by the time the story of the Lord of the Rings starts, Sauron's victory is inevitable.
Okay,
I think it makes a lot of sense that like
then the ghost makes sense, and Aragorn comes in, and he's the only Númenórean left or whatever, and he's the heir to Gondor.
Faramir was also.
Shut up.
I think it makes a lot more sense that there's some factions fighting alongside Sauron, even without like attributing too much of it to his like magical influence. Yeah. Because I think I think if you think of it like from the perspective of like a reasonable human, like yeah, what the fuck would anyone fight for? But like even if you look in like our society, right, like in like modern world, there's entire countries ruled and filled with people who are pretty unreasonable, or like they follow pretty unreasonable things, So I feel like
They
it's
they don't follow people who have orc armies. That doesn't happen.
Like, one of my favorite
Don't be
moments.
ridiculous.
One of my favorite moments is when Sauron captured the hearts of like the Numenorian Empire. He stood upon at the very top of the Temple of the Gods and took a strike of lightning, screaming curses at the gods in front of all the city in Numenor, their capital city. And they were like, "Oh shit, who is this guy?" And he basically was like, "Bow before me and worship me, for I am God." And they did so. And that is
Listen,
how like Numenor
listen,
was basically
listen.
destroyed.
If a dude in like black armor with spikes all over it and red glowing eyes comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'm God," you say, "No, you're not. You're Satan. Stop it." Like that's nobody would fall for that. Like that's obviously Satan. Come on. Here's a rule of thumb. Good guys don't have spikes on their armor.
Okay. Yeah, but like, does someone need to be good for you to
Good
follow them?
guys don't have spikes on their armor. You ever played Warhammer 40K? Yeah. You know what happens when like someone sides with hell? They put spikes on their armor. That's the first thing that happens.
Yes. We'll go
man.
through.
I'm thinking of like a fun skit. You know, like just have like someone like that show up with a spike scenario. If you're a good guy, why is there? Oh, they're reaching towards heaven. Yeah, they're. You know, I think you can explain it away.
I'm gonna
Spikes on your
we're gonna
armor.
get to talk about Lord of the Rings more in the future. So I'm gonna move on to my number 5,
Yeah.
which is The Father. This is a movie that I recently found out about, released in 2019, starring Welsh acting legend Anthony Hopkins and
Oh, who should play Scarecrow in the next Batman movie? Yeah, definitely.
Olivia Colman. And it is a story of a daughter and her father who is suffering from Alzheimer's. And the movie is shown entirely through the perspective of Anthony Hopkins' character with Alzheimer's. And we get to watch a movie and see his world through the eyes of an unreliable narrator. With someone with like a mental condition.
Is it bouncing through time though, too?
Oh, yes, a bit.
Okay.
We watch as time slowly becomes more and more of an inconsistent thing. Rooms change and people come and go and change, and it's a brilliantly put together movie that is both being played by with great performances from Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman. They both hit it out of the park with their performances in it. And it really does the situation of what they're struggling with justice, I think. And it kind of like shed some light and understanding onto like people who are saying that kind of condition.
Is this your mother? By in the chat.
Anyway,
Is you okay?
so my number 4 is The Iron Giant.
That's a great choice.
I
know I've seen it, but I think I was too young to remember it.
I had
That was
forgotten about this movie until I was like, let's make this list. And I didn't even know where to start. So I did a quick Google search and I said, favorite movies of all time. And you know what popped up as a number 1 search result? It was The Iron Giant. And I was like, holy shit, I remember this movie. How did I not remember this movie? It's a great movie. Anyway.
I think I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna make a short of me saying good guys don't put spikes on their armor.
So this story is basically about, and it was what the directors were going for. What if a weapon knew it was a weapon and didn't want to be one? It kind of that is pretty much the sole focus of this film, and it was well executed as it is one of the cult classic animation films of the 90s. especially that saw great success that wasn't published by Disney, which was
Yeah.
quite a feat in of itself.
The animation is beautiful. I think they even made use of some it looked like a little bit of CGI was in it.
Yeah.
And it looks good. It looks better than
It aged very well.
better than Overlord season 3 CGI. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. It really makes me sad every time that I hear from people that so many young people have not heard of this movie and don't remember it.
Yep. The more I watch like modern kid stuff, like because I have a lot of younger siblings, I've seen a lot of it. The more I think, man, I've got to like make sure I get together like a collection of all the movies I watched when I was a kid, because we had like some amazing like The Land Before Time, Iron Giant, like what was that, like Honey I Shrunk the Kids. Like there's a lot of like really classic clever things, and I feel like it gets replaced with a lot of like auto, and it's not like the messages have changed, you know.
It's been watered down. It's been dumb. Like modern day kid shows have been dumbed down. I almost want to say.
Okay, yeah. Everyone says the same thing though. Kid shows peaked when I was a kid. You know, like obviously you saw them when you were a kid. You watch kids shows now, and you're like, "What is this? A kid show?"
But the difference is like a lot of them I've rewatched, and I'm like, holy shit.
Also, I watched.
Do you remember Phineas and Ferb?
Yeah,
That's
but
the best kid shows of all time.
I'm
Phineas and Ferb, the
including
best kid
like
show of
kid
all
don't
shows
think
and
so.
kid content. Like there's kid shows and kid content
You're
that came before our time. That's also really good. But like the modern stuff is that CGI like no one's gonna be watching Paw Patrol in 50 years.
Yeah, I do not think that Phineas and Ferb is like one of the greatest kid shows of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Oh really?
Fairly
Well,
Odd Parents
you were like
is
2
the-
you were like 2 years too old for
I
that.
don't think
right?
Jimmy Neutron is either. Or like, there are like you say
Oh,
that,
Phineas
but
and,
like,
Phineas and Ferb definitely is. Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents, who cares? Phineas and Ferb, the greatest.
Johnny Test was pretty awful, actually.
I didn't say anything about Johnny Test.
I
What
have
are
a
you talking
personal
about?
vendetta against Johnny Test.
First of all, I like Johnny Test. All right, I like his sisters. I like the one with the moon in her hair. She was the better one.
Oh my god.
They were twins.
Yeah, but she was.
Yeah.
They were different.
They were minors, Calvin, so we are moving on.
I'm
So
not
you're
a
number
minor
4.
anymore. I'm not a minor.
No, they were.
So
Yeah.
was I.
You're number 4.
16, life is sweet, and you're growing.
How
Wait, no,
long-
that show had some girls. Sorry.
Isn't the first episode of that show like him trying to get a job at like Victoria's Secret, and he's
Yeah.
pretending he's gay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably. I'm not gonna openly defend Basta like that. Was a good show.
Total drama though. That was a good show.
I never liked Total Drama. I thought it was too over the top.
Really? Oh,
It
come
was
on.
funny at times, but it.
Hey, if we're talking about women, kid shows with girls, that was the one. Total drama.
They
You kidding me?
were all built like the letter T or like an H or I don't like.
There
It's-
was a
it's-
lot of stereotypes in that movie show.
Well,
That's
yeah, 'cause
true.
Every individual was a stereotype. You were a stereotype of your group. Courtney was the preppy one, and Gwen was the goth one, and Duncan was the punk, right? I mean,
Yeah. It
Owen was fat. that was his thing.
Yeah, but in most shows they break those stereotypes. In that show they suffered from.
DJ was black, and Shauna was black but a woman. Like,
If you're gonna be stereotyping your characters, I want to see in like more than just the stereotype. Often, I want to also see the person behind the stereotype. If you're
yeah,
gonna-
but sometimes if you're doing a stereotype, there needs to be one show that's just a stereotype.
okay, that's
And Total Drama was that show.
Total Drama was just the stereotype salad.
And it was coming out at a time where every show was breaking stereotypes. All right, so you took one of each stereotype, you threw it in a movie, right? There was a surfer dude, and there was the athletic girl, and there was a lot of. It was a good show.
Okay,
All right, on to my number 4, Empire. I feel like there's not much to say. Best Star Wars movie, therefore it's the best movie. One of the best movies.
yeah. It was
I mean,
Star Wars
Han Solo, Harrison Ford, in this movie. I mean, in the first movie he was good, but he didn't get as much time to shine.
Mhm.
In this movie, since he's actually kind of running the A plot,
Okay.
almost. Like
Yeah.
Luke doesn't show up until like later. Like Han is like doing most of the work,
Hmm.
and Luke is off like training. Yeah, and just some of the greatest actors doing some of the greatest characters. Boba Fett introduced in this movie, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yoda introduced in this movie. A lot of really iconic characters.
I don't think that I have much to add.
Not directed by George Lucas, by the way. Written by George Lucas. It was directed by someone else.
Yeah. Like,
So, and that's
Empire-
a bonus because George Lucas has awesome ideas, but he sucks at his job.
like that's
I think-
where the prequels I think failed, is like George Lucas needed a movie director to come in and
And
Oh,
be like, George,
good
knock it off.
yeah.
I feel like there's okay. This is a very hot Star Wars take. Okay, I was never the biggest Star Wars nerd. I wasn't that flavor nerd, right? But
Yeah.
looking back at the Star Wars movies, I think this made a big difference in cinema. This really pushed screen sci-fi forwards. I don't think this holds up.
It definitely holds
because-
up.
The movies
I-
look like shit, and
do.
it's full of weird, random like plot hole. Like I just it. I
Well,
don't know.
The thing is,
The world-
I think that's true for A New Hope, which is the first movie, because that was like mainly George Lucas. But the reason I think Empire specifically gets out on this list is because it was like the most polished of the three, even though it wasn't the last one to come out. It definitely had the least like weird stuff happening. And they didn't try to do too much, like more than they could.
for its
It was the
time,
least
too.
corny.
for its time as well. Because, like, definitely they didn't age well. And yes, there's every Star Wars fan hates Star Wars. That's just a running joke because was really only ever two great
But, like,
movies in the franchise.
I think it's
I like
something
Rogue
good
One.
for its
I like
time,
Rogue
and
One.
also acknowledge that it like might not be worth watching. Like I think, like when I rewatch an older movie, it's not just because it was good for its time; it's because it's good now. Like
Lord of the Rings.
yeah, Lord of the Rings is still good now. It's still
Yeah.
got like it.
I think Empire is still great now. I think it's the show that it's also incredibly well written.
It is well
Like
written.
A New Hope was janky, and Return of the Jedi is like it has the Ewok thing, and it's
I
trying
think-
it's trying to expand the world more than it should.
I think
but-
it.
Empire
Sorry,
is
go
just
ahead, go
very
ahead.
well written.
Yeah, that's fair enough, but I think that might be partially because I feel like there's been like a slight lack of like harder sci-fi, and I think like we haven't had many big sci-fi adaptations that are of like a similar, because I think there is other universes like I think Warhammer could probably have its own like legitimate movie in that world or something, right?
Well, they're
Dune-
making one. Henry
Dune
Cavill's
tried
making
to
one,
be-
and it's gonna be okay, but it won't be Star Wars.
See,
like-
once you say it won't be Star Wars, like I feel like Star Wars is not as like, I don't know, the Star Wars world. I never felt like I feel like they built on it over the years in like like TV specials and like straight to disc movies or stuff. But I feel
Well,
like
there was, like- there was,
Star
like-
Wars as it's originally posed is not
the Star Wars Holiday Special.
There were
Yeah,
dozens of novels, and the Clone Wars cartoons. Those
Yeah.
are amazing.
There is too much. It has expanded into something that it cannot contain itself anymore.
I agree. It's too much, but the Clone Wars cartoons were great. Also, if you want to talk about things that are expanding too much, you brought up Warhammer. Come on.
Lord of the Ring or not? Well,
Well,
Star
I
Wars.
was trying to think of another like broad sci-fi world that.
The problem with sci-fi is that it's inherently stupid.
I don't think that's true though. Like
It is.
there's absolutely in the past and even now there's some like I just read the three body problem by Cixin Liu, and it
Hitchhiker's Guide to
ver-
the Galaxy.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is good, but I don't think that's like I think that's more joking. And it's not what he's like addressing.
Okay.
Like hard sci-fi very grounded in science.
Mhm.
It's diminished, but it still exists. Like like I said, I just read the three body problem by Cixin Liu. It was so good. It asked some really genuine questions. Like when I'm watching Star Wars, the only question I'm asking is that his sister he's kissing or not? Like there's not any big questions to me. It's like I don't know. Like yeah, they fly in the fucking vent, and that was really cool for the time. But it was
Oh,
cool
you know
because
what
it
I
was
want to do when I'm
CGI.
watching a movie? I want to be
Well,
confused.
A
That's
lot
what I
of
want.
a lot of
I want to be
Star
watching
Wars,
it and being like, what the hell's going on? I like
okay,
good and evil. People are snobs nowadays. Good and evil stories are great. All right.
a
for
First of
lot.
sure.
all,
Hold
that's
on.
what The Hobbit is inherently.
A lot of the Star Wars and the love for Star Wars is honestly nostalgia.
Okay, well, guess what? I wasn't born in the 70s or the 80s whenever it came out. I was born in the modern day. I was watching it at the same time I was watching, like, what?
Same.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
I'm younger than you. I'm a little bit younger. I'm like
I don't know. I
5
don't
years
think
younger
it's.
than you are,
I don't
all
think
right?
it's.
So this isn't nostalgia. This is a genuinely good movie.
I
I don't
agree
know.
it is
So
a
the thing
genuinely good
with
movie. I don't think it's number 4 though.
the
It's
thing with
definitely
people
number 4.
being snobs or whatever is I think you can appreciate something just for the action. I appreciate a lot of the excuse me, action and Glorious Bastards, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But if you're appreciating something just for the action needs to hold up, and I don't think it does in Star Wars.
I didn't say
think,
the action. I didn't say the action.
No, but okay, but I'm saying
People
if you're
nowadays,
okay.
everyone is clouded. There are movies that do morally gray conflict amazing, or their books and shows like A Song of Ice and Fire.
Mhm.
Is George R. R. Martin is the best morally gray writer I can think of. But the issue is, if you want to make a morally gray movie, you have to be an amazing writer. And guess what? There aren't that many amazing writers. All
You
right.
can make a morally black and white movie and still have like I think you can still have conflict that's not
Lord of the
like
Rings.
very obviously predetermined. Like Lord of the Rings, there was conflict throughout. It was very clearly a black and white good guy, bad guy, but there was conflict along the way. Can we trust these friends?
it
Can we,
was
you know?
driven by so
Like-
much more than its conflict.
Like, did anyone think like Han Solo was gonna betray Anakin at any point? Like, I don't know. I feel like it was very
Well, did
it
you
was
think?
very on rails, you know?
First of all, Lando betrays them. All right, that happens. Like people betray people in this movie, but there are bad guys, and then Vader is redeemed. But there is an evil emperor, and there's good guys, and the issue is, it's like it's a movie about destiny. All right, and it's a movie about Darth Vader. Really, that's what the whole thing's about. It's more about Vader than it is about Anakin, than it is about
It
Luke.
is. Well,
All right.
actually, hold on.
And
The
so first of all,
prequel-
it's an excellent meeting of Western and Easterns
The
in a
trilogy is
sci-fi
about
setting.
the trilogy
well-
is about like, the entire Star Wars story and world is Vader, but the original
Yeah, that-
3, which we are
that's the
talking
problem.
about, is about
Whenever they expand outside of the Anakin, it starts to suck. Whenever they do like before, like Old Republic is okay, but most of the time when they do this is before the Clone Wars,
prequels suck.
before
The
Anakin.
prequels suck
It's like,
because they focused on Anakin.
well, no, the prequels had amazing action. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they had good action,
but
but
it
that's
was
all
they
that
were
they
badly
were,
written and badly directed.
and they
but
were
they- but-
badly acted.
But what about the Clone Wars? Huh?
Most of the Clone Wars sucked.
No, they don't. What are you talking
Only
about? You ever watched the show?
The latest
I wanna-
season was like the only redeemable one.
The
I
latest
wanna-
season was the worst one.
Anyway,
I want to kind of jump on the like merging of Eastern and Western. I don't. I've heard that like several times, but it feels like a BuzzFeed like after fact trivia knowledge thing. Like I don't see it in the movies at all. Like
do
just
you mean
because they
you don't
use
see it in the movies?
swords and they act kind of like you know the way they move is a little a little inspired by like maybe Eastern martial arts or whatever. But like that doesn't even seem close to merging the two in any way. Like again, that book I just read is getting adapted.
Whoa.
Okay.
Okay, it's not about Eastern and Western settings. It's Eastern and Western storytellings.
I'm
One of
aware.
the-
I'm
one of-
not.
One of
You
the
go ahead.
biggest thing in Eastern story, like you can see it in anime still, but it was also bigger like way before then, is the enemy to friends trope. That's something that never happens in Western storytellings. All right, like it very rarely does someone who's bad become good unless it's in like really Eastern inspired, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, when God, what's the guy's name? The
it's so overrated.
amazing show. Shut up. But we're not talking about that. But
I don't even think that's true.
that's a story beat, and it happens in. It's a very common Eastern story beat
I
that Westerns don't
don't-
get.
I
And a
don't even
Western
know what
story
you're
beat-
trying to say right
Western-
now. I'm sorry, I don't even know what you're trying to say right now.
I'm saying that the storytelling is a merger of Eastern and Westerns. And I'm giving an example. One of the examples is the trilogy ends with the enemies to friends story beat with Vader. All
Mhm.
right, that's one thing. But also, what is a Western is not about like cowboys and guns. A Western is about people like exploring new horizons. That's fundamentally what a Western is. All
Mhm.
right, so Western movies are always about people showing up to places they've never been, and and it's chaos when they get there, and they bring some sort of order to it. And that's what happens in the Star Wars movies. Like Luke is just like some kid from a planet, and Han's a smuggler. All right, and they show up, and they gotta be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And they and they ride their ships like across the galaxy, and they take down the bad guy. All right, and it's Western movies are fundamentally about that, uh, the New Horizons thing.
We, I'm sorry. Can we just stop talking about this? Empire Strikes Back, and move
Yeah,
on?
well, I've been wanting to. I've been trying to get off the thing for like
Yeah,
for like
let's
12
just get
minutes.
off of this,
All right,
because this discussion isn't going anywhere.
I
Plus,
know it's not. You guys have no taste. Move on to the next one.
okay, my next one,
No,
number.
my next one. I Wait,
Oh,
did I just do two in a row?
yeah, you did.
Oh,
My number
no, I
three.
didn't.
But you didn't.
No,
Oh.
no, I didn't. I did
Oh
one.
well, we'll do my three
You
and
go then.
two,
You
and
go.
then yeah,
Go
because I'm
two.
already
Yeah.
there. So my number three is Whiplash, which, or not Whiplash. Fuck, I
I'm
forgot
never
to
gonna
put the
watch that
title
movie.
on it. Sorry, hold on. I forgot. Hot
Hot
Fuzz.
Fuzz.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hot Fuzz. This was your number 10. This is my number 3. I think Hot Fuzz. There's no comedy like British comedy, and that's how I usually introduce this film to people. It is a great example of how far you can stretch that comedy when you have good writing and a tight script behind it. And it's focused, the general premise of the movie is that it's focused on England and a cop who is too good at his job, so he gets transferred from London to the most peaceful town in the country. But not everything is as it seems, and it's up to him to figure out what's going on. um we talked a lot about it before, and it is, yeah, we both agree, it's just a great movie. If you want to add anything to it, Dan, or
No, I haven't seen Hot Fuzz.
you need to.
I like British humor though. I think on my top, I think Life of Brian would have ended up in my top 10 for my British humor equivalent.
I love Life is Brian. Life of Brian. That's a good one.
Yeah, I love Holy Grail too, but Life of Brian, I don't. It really shocked me on like all the points. I was like, wow, that is weirdly relevant today.
Really timely. We were just talking about that earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my, Holy
The
Grail
I
and
want to be
Life of Brian
Loretta.
are amazing. Then we'll
All right,
go
move
on.
on.
My
What's your
number
number two?
2 is Whiplash. I know you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna see it. This is my
Never
second
gonna
pick.
watch it. I've seen the clips. It looks boring.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know when he yells at the main character to, "Are you gonna cry? Are you gonna piss your pants? Maybe you shouldn't come." I'm pretty sure that was a Whiplash quote.
no, it was exactly, but yeah, I know what scene you're talking about.
Uh, s-
It is a movie about an aspiring jazz drummer who is willing to do whatever it takes to be the best, and just how far his instructor, who sees the potential in him, is willing to push him. It is
It,
a show that shows just how dangerous that strive for greatness when it turns to obsession can be.
I would quit way before like that. Like even the scenes that are like I know are only in the middle of the movie that you've showed me.
Hmm.
I would have quit way before that happened. If like I had an instructor that was like that, I'd be like, I'm not taking this. This isn't instruction. This is abuse.
Mm. I think, yeah, it's a very well. I think it's a very well acted movie, and I love it. I've seen it multiple times. Good watch.
All right,
I don't
cool.
have too much to add to it. So we'll go
Give me
to
do
your
my
number 3. Oh, here, your number 3.
Shawshank. Yeah,
Yep.
good book by Stephen King. Made into a movie. The acting is incredible. Um,
Yeah.
it's not infinitely like this is one of the things I was saying about how Forrest Gump is infinitely rewatchable.
Mhm.
Like Shawshank is great, but I couldn't watch it more than once, like in a row.
I don't think I
Like
could watch
there's
it
some movies I
multiple
could watch
times.
2 times in a row. Shawshank's too heavy for that.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, it's
I struggled, and I almost had this on my list,
it's
but
a movie about an innocent man who goes to jail, and
yeah,
him adapting to that, and he makes he tries to do his like Machiavellian best, but it doesn't. It kind of backfires on him
hmm
at first, but he gets through it,
yeah,
and that's what it's about. It's a great movie.
it is. It's a
I'm
very good
assuming it's a
movie.
great book, but I've never read the book.
This movie is the highest rated movie on IMDb for a reason.
Well, I think it's because people voted. I think. Do you know the story behind that was that Godfather was, which is like bullshit. Of course,
Oh
Godfather's not the
yeah,
best movie of all time.
no, it's not.
But then The Dark Knight overtook it, and I love The Dark Knight, but uh, so I do think it deserves to be above Godfather. But but they were like artificially inflating both those two movies' numbers.
Yeah,
So IMDb shut down for a bit, and then it came back online, and Shawshank was number one.
the The Dark Knight is a very overrated movie. It's good. It's a good superhero movie, but it is overrated.
Well, okay, move to my next slide.
Okay. Oh no.
Yeah, so my number two is The Dark Knight.
Okay. It's a good
There's a
movie.
lot of it is. Well, I think my, I would like it more if I didn't like Batman. If I didn't like Batman, I'd love this movie.
Okay.
But I do take issues with the, first of all, the action is amazing. The acting is amazing. It's paced incredibly well. It's very I mean, Heath Ledger's iconic in it.
hmm
The only problem is I think they do Batman a little dirty. Like it's one of those things where like I'm watching this and it's not quite Batman.
hmm
And I think that's the writer's fault. They want to make a modern action movie that happens to be a Batman movie, which is really great. It's like an awesome, like
As
fantastical crime drama.
my
But come on,
problem, I'm sorry. My problem with The Dark Knight comes down to it's one of the better superhero movies out there, but it sticks out like a sore thumb in its own trilogy.
well I don't watch the other two movies because they suck.
Yeah, the other two movies are not as good by far, but it still from like a thematic perspective, from like the tones that it tries to cover, even with like the artistic direction that the movie decided to take, clashes so heavily with the other two. In fact,
Yeah,
all
well
three of them clash with each other. But yeah,
yeah, well I'm viewing this with tunnel vision. Like screw
okay,
those other two movies. This is a good movie. In fact, if I ever have kids, I'm just gonna show them this movie.
okay. Do you have
Uh,
anything to add to this, Novus?
No, I agree. I personally, I'm also. I think maybe just have one kid as an experiment where you try to raise them only with movies, and then compare him to the other kid where you also combine teaching him. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I,
start him with The Wolf of Wall Street. That way he's successful.
have you have you I think it was someone who said it might have been Ryan Long who said we're gonna take these machine learning algorithms and we're gonna try to get them to be the best comedians ever. But one has to do it without offending anyone, and the other has to learn how to be funny, but only gets to use 4chan and 8chan,
Oh no.
and see what they come up with.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Now on to our honorable mentions. I guess I'll go
you go
first.
first.
My
Yeah,
honorable mentions, I have three of them. Monty Python and the Holy Grail should definitely on this honorable mention list, but it's not here. So my honorable mentions, because I wanted to go a little bit fun with these. I have 2004 Van Helsing, the 2006 The Legend of Zorro, and The
nice,
Empire Strikes Back.
good.
All, especially Van Helsing and Legend of Zorro, are two of probably the worst movies ever from a realistic standpoint. But I love them to death. They are both fun action and adventure movies. Van Helsing being like a monster mash while Zorro being like this desperado of the Texas frontier. It they're just
I
so
think
fun to
that
watch.
Legend of Zorro has a couple. I mean, the rest of the movie isn't good, but it has a few like legitimately great sword fighting scenes in it.
It does. It's
Like
like
it does
my
action better
guilty
than most
pleasure
movies.
movie. I know it's
It does,
bad. I know
yeah.
it's so poorly rated. I don't care. I love that movie.
Does Van Helsing become a werewolf in the Van Helsing movie?
Yes, he does.
I
Honestly,
think
I'd watch a sequel.
I'll throw in some honorable mentions that I think maybe wouldn't have made my list, but I think they deserve recognition and just
Okay.
people to talk about. So Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
Oh, okay, shut up.
That is a great,
I'm not listening to this. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
an incredible journey of two friends. All right, it's got action, it's got music, it's got Jack Black.
Which is the minus.
I think he's at least +2.
Mhm.
But I adore that movie. It's so good. The fact it's got cameos from Dio like right before, like not long before he died.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. Maybe the movie did him in, but all I know is every time it makes me feel a little more alive. So yeah, I'll leave it at just that one.
I have Empire Strikes Back as an honorable mention. It's my favorite of the Star Wars movies, but the Star Wars movies aren't. They're Star Wars
Okay, whatever.
movies.
Whatever.
Let's see your honorable mentions.
Yeah, my honorable
Oh,
mentions.
okay.
So number one is like the serious movie I put on here was Saving Private Ryan.
Mhm.
That would be like number 11 on my list.
That's a
Legitimately great
great
movie.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing acting. Shows the horror. Although it is hard to make an anti-war movie.
Mhm.
Like, because anytime a movie actually shows the horrors of war, even like young men are still like, that's pretty sick.
I think
Like,
that the best way to make an anti-war movie is to show
it's
war, like with The Iron
no,
Giant,
the
or
best way to make
Saving
it.
Private Ryan, or Schindler's
No,
List.
the best way to make an anti-war movie is to make a movie that talks nothing about war.
No, I don't
No.
know.
That's the
I
most.
think
Because I think whenever I eat like the most horrific war movie, like All Quiet on the Western Front, made me want to join the army, even though it's brutally horrific. It's still
I,
like the grosser it is, the more adventurous it seems.
Mm,
I think you just need to have your character participate in some of the really fucked up shit that happens or get pressured into it or something, and then
Yeah,
like swept away in it, and then he just needs to reflect on it later and be like, just have an emotional scene.
the best anti-war movie would be a 2 hour movie of a dude just sitting there,
Just crying.
like no, just in the army. He's just like doing army
Oh.
stuff, which is like not
nothing.
exciting all the time. Yeah, right.
And the army accountant movie, he's
No,
doing taxes.
there's a war going on. He happens to be the guy who's like loading magazines, and that's just his. This is what war is, kids. Like you think it's an adventure? Like look at this. What's going on? It's just like his thumbs are bloody,
There's
loading.
there is another movie I want to talk about um as an honorable mention. It's called The Call. And it is the story, or it's a movie about a 911 operator and him dealing with a emergency call that he gets about from a girl.
Is it with what's the guy's name? Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
Okay, don't tell me because I actually want to see that movie.
It's really good. It's worth watching. Really good. And the entire movie is from this 911 operator's perspective at the desk.
So he's just on the phone.
Yeah. I do not
Got it.
know how they made it so convincing and like engaging, but they did.
Well, my aunt's a 911 operator. She said she really liked it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Okay. My next honorable mention was Zootopia.
Mhm.
All around killer movie. Judy Hopps. As long as we're talking about cartoon girls, like come on, Judy Hopps.
No.
Yeah. I mean, teach kids about, you know, drugs early. That's what I think.
You're gonna do
Also,
the third one on this list, though.
oh, A Silent Voice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's on Netflix. You can watch it. It's an animated movie. It's an anime, which is why I thought you'd like make fun of me for it. But it's a movie
No.
about a boy who used to bully a deaf girl when they were in grade school, and he's depressed and he wants to kill himself. And before he kills himself, he has to like give her back a notebook that he stole and apologize.
Mhm.
And then like stuff happens.
So I'm wondering, how does A Silent Voice take this honorable mention over a movie like Spirited Away?
If I'm being totally honest, A Silent Voice actually I think is better than Saving Private Ryan. It's gut wrenching.
How does it compare to Spirited Away, though?
I don't think I've ever seen Spirited Away.
You should, if you're into animated films.
Let me look up Spirited Away.
Spirited Away, it's, I don't know, from the cover it seems kind of similar, but
Oh, okay. I've seen this around,
yeah.
but I've never seen it. And I watch like the popular animes,
Well,
so I'm not like
Spirited Away
I'm
is
not a
the
weeb.
popular one.
I actually I don't watch the I don't watch like the older popular ones like Naruto or
Okay.
whatever. I watch like Demon Slayer and My Hero, like the two popular ones right now.
Because
So I'm not like
Spirited
I'm not like a
Away
weeb,
hold on,
but I'm not against anime.
Spirited Away is the highest grossing and the most sold animated movie of all time.
Okay, so I'll get maybe it's better. So maybe I'll watch it. But I'm just saying that a Silent Voice as a movie, yeah, it's absolutely. I don't think I've ever cried in any movie except from that one South Park episode. But that's a true story. But maybe I'll tell it another time. But it's
Save that for another time.
yeah. But there's one South Park episode that's super. It's not even meant to be sad, but it just hit me different.
Okay.
Well, actually, you might have. Okay, it's not like a whole story. It's just the episode where Stan is like, he thinks everything's shit. You know that episode?
No, I haven't seen it.
that made me cry. I was like, oh my god, I'm Stan.
So
Hates everything.
should we move on to
But
our number ones?
Yeah, but a Silent Voice is a movie that actually made me cry, which has never happened before.
Okay.
Yeah, you can move on to. You want to do my number one first? Because I think your number one is.
We know what it is. Prince.
We know what my number one is too.
Yeah. Okay.
My number one movie?
Yep.
A Princess Bride.
Mhm.
Oh my god, what an amazing movie.
That is a classic.
Nothing compares. First of all, the best sword fighting scene of all time. There's one weird part where like Inigo Montoya is holding Wesley's sword down, but when he could just like flick it into his face real quick.
Mhm.
But besides that, amazing. They're like they don't really want to kill each other because they respect each other too much.
Yeah.
Hilarious scenes. Despite being kind of like a sappy comedy, Cary Ells, one of the best actors of all time. He plays his role perfectly. I do take issue with the pacing in this movie a bit, but that's like the only problem I think it has.
I think we've both agreed that after the swamp attack scene, this movie kind of drops in quality greatly.
Yeah, but you know what? But my opinion has always been that the first part of the movie before then, like makes up for it so immensely that it still maintains the number one spot.
Okay.
Like I do think that it drops from like an amazing movie to a normal movie, but I think the amazing part is just so amazing.
Yeah, it is a great movie. Yeah,
like in between Forrest Gump and here, everything's been non-rewatchable. This is a rewatchable movie.
It is.
You get to the end. You get to the end, and you're like, I want to hear him say "inconceivable" again.
My entire list is basically rewatchability.
And what's your number one movie?
It is the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Which movie in particular?
Pick a favorite.
Which movie? Pick one. Coward.
Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, your Fellowship.
Fellowship of the Ring. So, I've read the books. I have consumed all of the extensive Tolkien further lore. I have read The Hobbit, seen the movies.
Except for Silmarillion 2, Electric Boogaloo. You've never read that one.
No, I've not read Silmarillion 2. Doesn't exist yet, but soon to come out in a theater near you. But um I think Fellowship of the Ring is the weakest book of the trilogy. With Return of the King and the Two Towers being the stronger, much stronger books of Fellowship. But
Well, yeah, there's only 3 books. You said this is the weakest one, and then the other 2 books are the stronger ones.
yeah, but Fellowship as an adapted movie was adapted brilliantly. Like, it just basically all the fluff got cut out, how they reorganized everything so it makes more sense. There's less exposition in it. It's more of a start of an adventure. What you and like how you initially set on and you think like this is like your standard adventure, hero's journey. And it's so much more than that. I think it definitely drops in quality near the end, especially as the reliance of CGI goes up, and how Peter Jackson kind of he lost. It feels like he lost a lot of inspiration as time went on. But for the most part, I think it's a very self-explanable series. Like it is like they threw a bunch of ingredients into a pot, stirred it, and gold came out. That is basically what the series is. It's like everything, every aspect of these movies, the attention to detail, all of the music, the use of the CGI, the characters, every single actor that got their role was couldn't have been better. And it is I adore this series from a filmmaking perspective, objectively, to how my love for fantasy. Like, I am a fantasy geek and nerd, and I love all things fantasy, and Lord of the Rings is what started that. And I can't praise it enough.
And I agree with that.
And I liked that movie.
They are great. Anyone who hasn't seen them needs to watch them.
And you also know that do you know that they Merry and Pippin have a podcast?
Merry and Pippin?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's called the Friendship Onion. They do a podcast.
That is great.
I know it is.
Are they actually small in real life?
No. No.
They,
First of all, the guy that plays Mary is like a super famous actor. He's like been in a ton.
so all the facial shots were played by the hobbits on their knees pretty much, but all of the shots from behind when they were walking were actual midgets in wigs.
Really?
Yeah, that's how they played it.
Nice.
That's great.
Can I briefly talk about a movie I'm pretty excited about, or at least a series?
Yeah.
I alluded to that book earlier. It is one of the best books I have ever read, bar none. It's called The Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. He's the most famous sci-fi writer in China. It's endorsed by Barack Obama. Apparently, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised when I bought the book that it said Barack Obama called this amazing.
Appeal to
but-
authority.
I guess so, yeah. But no, it's really well written, hard sci-fi. So sci-fi mainly stays really grounded in science. It'll have you like double guessing whether something is real or not. Sometimes I read parts. I'm like, that's a silly made up sci-fi organization, and it's like they met in 2003, and I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. But it talks about a period of history that I didn't know anything about, and I think a lot of people don't know about. It's a alien contact story, but that doesn't come until a lot later. With the backdrop of China's Cultural Revolution, so when China became communist, it was one of the most insane revolutions I've ever heard of. I realized, I imagine something would have happened for you to convert from capitalism to communism. I didn't realize it was like dystopian marching professors into the streets. Like there was a literal 100-day war at a university with like cannons and bombs and shit between like students and different. That's insane. So
yeah.
that's the backdrop to all of this. Right?
I didn't know any of it. Oh, you.
The that was a time of the child rebellion as well in China.
Yeah, so it takes all that stuff as a backdrop, right? I wasn't aware of just how bad that was.
Oh,
You sh- you should you want to. That's amazing. It is so weird. Like all that Cold War stuff.
Mhm.
Like think about like the USSR was basically as powerful as the US. I mean, Russia still has more nukes than us. But it's a country, and it was like an evil country that we defeated, and we defeated it so hard that it just doesn't exist anymore.
I don't know if we defeated it
nobody-
as opposed to they defeated themselves.
Well, basically, yeah, right. But
Oh.
they basically were crushed under their own weight.
Sorry,
Yeah.
so I wanted to
But
say.
They
Yeah, go ahead.
it was like so evil. Like a little bit ago I read the Gulag Archipelago. I don't know if you read that one. That's about the USSR. It was by Solzhenitsyn, who was a political prisoner, and it's his story plus the story of other people who are also in the gulags. Yeah, it's horrific, and it's something that just nobody talks about. And it was like 50 years ago.
So it's against that whole backdrop, and it has a lot of interesting like parts that are related to physics and stuff like that. I'm doing my undergrad in physics, right, astrophysics, so it's pretty on the nose. But I think you could really enjoy it. Without that, it touches on virtual reality, environmentalism, and there's a really big part of it that's kind of sociology, like how humans interact as groups, and it's written in a different way. Chinese books are written very often. The writing is one a bit more direct, a little more like you know, there's less padding between it, and then there's also the kind of allusion to like group dynamics rather than the individual.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's incredible. The translation's incredible. I talked to someone who's read both the Chinese and English versions, and they actually said the translation was better. So yeah, very, very highly recommend the Three Body Problem. It's getting adapted too. I don't know how good that'll be though.
Well, as long as we're plugging books, I just read The Case Against the Sexual Revolution. Pretty good book, Isaac. You'd like it. Jay, you'd like it.
Okay. Well, does anyone have any?
You plugging a book? You plugging a book, Icy?
We gotta plug a book.
Oh,
What's your book? What book have you read recently?
We always do that here. Come on.
Yeah, we plug a book every week here.
Yeah.
We read a book every week and then we plug it.
Yeah.
read the book in a while.
Look at your bookshelf.
Silmarillion 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Silmarillion 2 coming up.
For
I actually, I
The
can
night-
relate to that, Isaac.
I'm going to go with The Night Circus.
Nice. What's it about?
It is about these two magicians that are competing for their legacy with each other, and they both take on an apprentice. Their apprentices kind of compete for their legacy and the right to carry on, and it is through a circus that they.
And their names were Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow.
No.
Oh.
And but the two apprentices who are training to eventually compete against each other, they end up falling in love, and then they have a whole story about that.
And it was gay?
No.
Oh.
It's a really good book. It was a really creative book. Yeah. So I'm gonna plug The Night Circus as my book.
I can relate to not having read a book in a while. Because I actually picked up the Three Body Problem series for the purpose of getting back into reading, and I'm really glad I did. I would recommend it very highly.
I haven't read a book since I read The Hobbit. Although that was like a week ago. So.
The Hobbit is a really good book to read.
Yeah, and then I have to read The Prince by Machiavelli, but I'm a little. It's one of those books that like once you start reading it, you're never gonna want to read again. Because it's just like a dense philosophy book.
Anyway, I'm ready to wrap things up if you guys are all.
Yeah, I know. We finished the list.
Yeah.
I have two shorts for me to make now. I gotta make me saying. I gotta figure out how to make a short first of all, and then I gotta make me saying, good guys don't put spikes on their armor.
Well-
and then I gotta make me calling out Ben Shapiro for his garbage take on everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
We-
That's all I think for this week, and sorry for the late start for anyone who's still watching. And hopefully we'll start on time next week. And
Next week we watch all the Lord of the Rings movies, every single one of them.
on stream.
On stream, yeah.
See how long
And we
it
just
takes
talk.
to get taken down.
And you go, oh, he actually kicked the helmet in that scene, and he broke his foot. And I go, yeah, I know.